Hey, what is going on, guys? This is Jake at That Fit Friend, and today I'm reviewing the APL TechLoom Tracer. So if you're like me, and if you've ever seen this shoe and noted the price and wondered, why does that shoe cost $250? Why is it the same price as my car payment? I wanted to get a pair and talk about some pros, cons, and their overall performance, because this video is not intended to sell you on this shoe. Honestly, they are way overpriced for what they offer. But if you do have the money for this model and you wanted to know more about the pros, cons, and performance, hopefully this video can help you out. So 3 pros that I have with this shoe is number 1, I think if you were doing classes, HIIT style training or athletic style training, this shoe excels really well. So we have a nice Propulsion foam through the midsole that is like APL's proprietary structure for this shoe's like foam midsole that gives it its nice level of pop and lightweight feel, and it's supposed to be a little bit better than EVA foam, and this shoe has a nice athletic fit. So it gives me fit vibes of like a Nike Metcon 4, which I personally love. So in the context of that style of training, the shoe feels very easy to wear and it's super light and responsive. So I do really enjoy that about this model. The second pro that I have with this shoe is I like the lacing system, because with this phantom eyelet up here at the top, you can tuck the laces, so it looks pretty good on a daily wear basis. And also the laces just have like a pretty unique look to them, and they really lock down that midfoot. So when you're doing like multi-directional activities or doing jumping or whatever it might be, and you need a little bit more security through your midfoot and your upper, I like the lacing system for that. It also adds that nice level of versatility for having the laces on top or tucking them in, which I do like. The third pro that I have with this shoe is just how lightweight this model is. So honestly, this is one of the lightest weight cross-training shoes or training shoes that I have ever tried. I'll talk about their official weight in my weight section, but if you're somebody who likes something that's super light on the feet and almost feels like you're wearing nothing, this could be a good model to look into. But now, let's talk about a couple of cons that I have with the TechLoom Tracer. Cons that I have with the TechLoom Tracer include number 1, honestly, I feel like they are overpriced. Now, $150 for a training shoe for me is personally high. However, if that shoe is niche, I can get more behind that price point. $250 for a more general training shoe just doesn't make a lot of sense. Plus, in regard to long-term durability, we have exposed foam on the shoe sole, so we only have limited parts that rubber covers. So for outdoor work and for long-term daily wear, I'm not sold that this shoe's durability is gonna last what would be worth investing $250 in. The second con that I have with this model is that it does have performance limitations. And so while I love this shoe for like things like plyometrics and more athletic style training, I am not a fan of them for heavy lifting. And also I was noticing some slip issues on things like turf when I was really digging into the forefoot because of this exposed foam. So there are performance limitations with this model. I think they perform exceptionally well within the realm of activities that they're kind of like designed for or kind of optimized for. But when it comes to like being a well-rounded shoe for $250 in regard to training, I don't think the performance is fully there. My third con is that if you have a flatter or wider foot, this shoe is probably not going to be your best bet. It runs fairly narrow, and also the sizing for this model is unisex. So honestly, like that bothers me too, because women's and men's feet are built differently, but we can unpack that one in a different video. But that being said, the shoe does run pretty narrow. So if you do have a wider or flatter foot, I would probably stay away from the shoe. The fourth con I have with this model, it includes 2 different little cosmetic things. Number 1, on this white colorway, like you can see the yellow adhesive and glue around the sole. For $250, I feel like that shouldn't be a thing. And then also, it can be a pain to get your foot into the shoe. I made the mistake of not bringing slides to my workout, and I took these off after my session and tried to put them on with some sweaty feet, and it was a struggle. I think I still have like a forearm pump from trying to wedge my foot into this shoe. But overall, those are my cons with this model, but now let's talk about the performance of the TechLoom Tracer. To discuss the performance of the TechLoom Tracer, I'm going to break this section into a few different parts. I'm going to talk about lifting, versatile training, shorter runs, and then daily wear. In the context of lifting, the shoe does a pretty good job for more light to moderately loaded activities. Honestly, for doing like lighter power cleans, the shoe felt pretty great. For lighter squats, they felt okay. I started to notice compression once I got above 3 plates. So once I passed 315 pounds, I did start to notice the midsole starting to compress. So I do not think they're going to be your best bet for heavier lifting or even like heavy machine work. But if you are somebody who only does some light to moderately loaded stuff, or even just power focus movements where you're not loading super heavy, honestly, the overall lifting stability in the shoe with the Propulsion foam midsole is pretty solid. When it comes to versatile training, I would be lying if I said I didn't like this model. This model is probably one of my top picks right now for athletic training. However, like the price point is still too high, But in the context of like jumping and being explosive, I really enjoy the mobility you get from the shoe sole and just how lightweight they are. They feel like feathers on the feet, and they give me that more Metcon 4 vibe, which is kind of more like low profile and athletic in nature, which I personally dig. So I do think if you have like a foot anatomy that feeds well into that style of footwear, then you'll really enjoy this shoe for athletic training. And if you're training on like rubber gym floors, I don't think grip is going to be an issue with the shoe sole. On turf, it was okay for some things, but then again, like during like sled pushes where I was digging into like this very specific part in the forefoot, I was having a little bit of slip, but for the most part, they did a pretty good job on that surface. So I could say like for versatile training, this model does a pretty good job across the board, and they feel pretty dang good. For running, the shoe is meh at best. I like them a lot for sprints because again, that low profile like athletic fit really feeds well into that style of training. Plus the upper does breathe pretty well, so that's also a nice perk there. But for longer runs, more than 2 miles, I would say this model will probably get a little bit uncomfortable for you. You don't have a ton of support, so if you like a more firm shoe, you might like that. However, for longer distances, I could see a lot of folks not enjoying them for that context. For daily wear, I like the appearance of this shoe, and I like that you can tuck the laces. Those are my pros for daily wear with this model. My con for daily wear with this model is that if 250 is a stretch for you, and if you're investing in this shoe and you're wearing them out and about a ton like asphalt or for longer durations, I don't want the sole to break down too soon on you because I do see durability potentially being an issue with this exposed foam. So for daily wear, it's very hit or miss. I think if you're wearing them in context where you're not going to be necessarily scuffing them up on asphalt a ton or wearing them for longer walks, then they make sense. However, be very conscious of that if you do plan to use this shoe for both training and then also wearing on a day-to-day basis. So now let's answer the question, who are the APL TechLoom Tracer best for? They're definitely going to be best for that person with a ton of money who lives out in the Hamptons. No, but seriously, this model is honestly awesome for the context in which it is designed to perform well in. So for plyometrics, athletic training, like I have thoroughly enjoyed this shoe. However, I don't think they're worth $250 USD. I think if you have, and again, if you have that money and it doesn't bother you dropping that for a pair of training shoes, then I do think this model will be worth it as long as you don't have like a flat or wide foot that won't fit into this model really well. But for anybody else who wants to save money or who's just looking for a shoe for like heavier lifting, more versatile training, you can find models for about half the price of these, or you could do what I did, which was search for an older colorway. I picked this pair up, I think for like $118. So when all was said and done after taxes and shipping, I think I paid like $135 for this model. So you can definitely find them for marked down prices if you look around at different retail outlets. So if you are really interested in that shoe, I would highly suggest doing that because $250 for this model, I think, is a stretch. So when chatting on the sizing and fit in the APL TechLoom Tracer, if you have a narrow or neutral width foot, you should be safe going true to size in this model. The length fits true, and the forefoot is a little bit more neutral in nature. Now, once again, if you have a flatter or wider foot, pass on this model. Likely you're going to feel pretty limited in the shoe, especially around the midfoot. And once again, this model does have unisex sizing, which I honestly wish wasn't the case, especially for $250. I feel like the men's and women's sizes should have some anatomical differences baked into the individuality of all of our feet. However, that is what you can expect with this shoe in regard to sizing. Once again, when chatting on price of the APL TechLoom Tracer, you can expect to pay $250 USD for new colorways. Personally, I would not pay that for this shoe, and I would say either shop around and look for older colorways like I did, or look for sales or coupons. As a solo content producer, I have wanted to review this shoe for a while, but I just could not justify spending $250 on one model, especially when I am buying a good amount of the shoes I review. So that being said, if you have the money for them, sure, drop it. I think you will enjoy them, especially if you want them for the specific needs I've already outlined in this video. But for most folks who don't want to drop $250 for a pair of training shoes, definitely shop around, look for older colorways or coupons, or look into other models that have price points that align better for your needs. All right guys, now let's go over the weight, heel to toe drop, and insole in the TechLoom Tracer. For my size 10 model here, we have a weight of 9 ounces. That is pretty dang light for a training shoe. The heel to toe drop in this model is 8 millimeters, and this shoe does have a thin foam removable insole. So as you can see, you can take that insole out, and it does have a nice level of padding and cushion to it. All right, now let's go over the construction of the APL TechLoom Tracer. Looking up here at the toe, we do not have an extended outsole layer that wraps up. Once again, this shoe's sole is built on a Propulsion foam midsole. So we do have some rubber overlays down here on the outsole, but I'll get to those, but we do not have any like extended outsole overlays on this model. Looking at the upper construction up here in the forefoot, we have a TechLoom upper. This is like this 3D print throughout. Overall, it does lock the foot down pretty well, and it breathes pretty well up here in the forefoot. So I don't think many are gonna have issues with the foot overhead overhang unless you have like a wider or flatter foot and you're really pushing into this upper a ton when doing lateral explosive work. Looking at the midfoot, we also have that TechLoom upper construction. And then looking at the heel, we have a Lycra heel construction back here and tongue. So we do have a booty style construction. We have an external tab here. And then the inside of the heel does have a little bit of padding to help lock that foot down. This design is supposed to give you like full range of motion with the ankle, which I kind of like. Overall, I didn't have slip issues with this model. If anything, I had a tough time putting them on. When looking at the midfoot, we have some APL branding up here, and then we have 8 eyelets that wrap up with the 9th phantom loop back here. This loop is not going to be something that you use unless you are tucking your laces in my opinion, and overall this lacing system is interesting. It can be kind of a pain really cranking those laces tight, but what it does is it doesn't really loosen up when I train, so after that initial annoyance of trying to get all of these 8 eyelets to agree with one another, they are pretty phenomenal at locking that foot down. Looking at the midsole construction, once again we have a Propulsion foam midsole throughout, and then looking at the outsole, we have rubber on the tip of the toe, the base of the forefoot, and then back here on the heel. Overall, I do like this because it does keep the shoe pretty light. However, once again, for long-term durability, especially up here on the forefoot where the exposed foam is, and throughout the midfoot, I could see that being problematic. Don't mind the blue stains here. I wore these for daily wear the other day for like a 5K walk, and I stepped on a bunch of berries. Looking at the insole, once again, we do have a removable insole in this model. It is slightly more padded and cushioned in nature, so honestly, it does give the shoe a nice, comfortable feel to it. But overall, that is the gist of this model's construction. I do like the Propulsion foam in the shoe, and I do like the TechLoom upper. And if you have any additional questions you have on this model's construction, drop a comment down below. All right, guys, that wraps up my review of the APL TechLoom Tracer. Honestly, this review has been pretty difficult because I do like the fit and the overall performance of this shoe. However, for $250, I'm not sold that this shoe is well-rounded enough to justify that for most folks. If you have additional questions on the TechLoom Tracer, drop a comment down below or reach out to me personally, whichever you prefer. And as always, guys, drop a like on the video, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you in the next one.